Good morning, everybody. How are you? Happy Thursday. I hope that both you and your family are well. It's a beautiful day out. It's a very warm day out, but it's also Thursday, and that's one of my favorite days because I get to stream and spend an hour with all of you. So I'm having a good week. I hope the same for you. Hope everything is good on your end. So I'm already seeing people in both the Instagram and YouTube channels. As soon as we get participation, we'll start seeing some of the chats over here on my shoulder. But just really glad you're here. Looking forward to another chat. I have so many things coming up over the next few weeks that I'm really excited to share with all of you. So before we go too much further, you guys know that we always start off with the morning with the global roll call. So let me know where you're from, the city, state, province that you're from, and then I promise that we'll get to questions after that. But I always like to hear where everybody's from. It makes the conversation a little bit more inclusive because everybody can participate. So I hope that you're joining us, and just let us know where you're from. Even if you've been here before, I'd still like to hear from you. Just check in with us and just let us know how things are going for you. So while we're waiting for, okay, great, we can already see some of the chat coming in. So while we wait for the global roll call, I usually also like to give an opening note. And today's note is going to be about writing and publications and papers. Now, you shouldn't feel like you always have to have some massive journal or some massive distribution for your papers. It's always a healthy thing to write your own articles and do your own distribution, maybe on an internal website for your company or a newsletter. Or even if you just start a small blog for yourself, that's totally okay. I did that, and not a lot of people read my material, and that's okay. The point is that you're practicing. You're practicing your writing, and then you're also practicing interpreting your results. Those are two very valuable skills for any data scientist. And then you can carry that forward into your work to establish yourself as an expert. So for example, I would write articles for the companies that I work for, the clients I've had. I'll write for their internal websites just to, just kind of like team awareness, to let people know that there's a data science team available. This is the kind of stuff we do, so on and so forth. I think that's a very valuable thing and helps build the relationships. And personally, it also helps you because you're establishing yourself as a subject matter expert, and that's very valuable. So along with that, what I'll tell you is my biggest tip for that. And I tell this to all the people that work for me. Every good article or every good white paper ends with next steps. Always end your articles with, if we were to extend this research further, here's what we would do, right? So one, it shows the creativity of how you can carry things forward. Two, it opens you up to collaborations with other people. Three, it might get you more funding from one of your bosses or whatever that reads your work. And then four, it helps the greater data science community for somebody else to pick up your work and say, okay, yeah, that team did that. I'm going to build upon that and I'm going to put my own twist on it. I'm going to do my own contribution to it. Or I really appreciate the work they did. That's a good foundation, but let me add this. So always end any article, any paper with the next steps that you would see for your project. Very valuable for really, it's a win for everybody to have that out there. And also I think adds just a little bit more professional polish to your articles to recognize and say, hey, we've done this work, but there's more here. There's more to do. This is how we see it. So I hope that tip helps you. I think you're going to use it more as you carry on in your career, as you start publishing more results, but I hope that helps. All right, great. I'm already seeing some check-ins. I love the chat filling in over here. So if you're new here, please let us know where you're from. City, state, province, always like to hear from people. That way everybody can participate. And you never know, you meet somebody from your country, from your school, from your city. It's just community building and just fun all around. And then I'll get to your questions because I know everybody always has questions and I love getting to those. So I'm going to give you guys another minute because I do want to talk about everyone's favorite book. Everyone seems to love this book. I love this book too. This book, I'm so embarrassed. It is so dirty. I mean, the backside is incredibly dirty because this has been part of my library for 10 years now. Maybe a little longer than that. So I've had this book for a long time. It's version 1, the R version. This is the first version. I think this is their first edition or second edition, something like that. But Sunday, 1500 GMT, the time that I usually do this stream, I'm going to have a class on the ISL book. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go chapter by chapter every Sunday. It's going to go for 8 Sundays. And I'm going to pick out the parts of the book that I think are relevant for the real world. The entire book is very valuable. Don't misunderstand me. But we're going to go through it and I'm going to tell you, oh yeah, that's valuable. Yep, I've used that. This, not so much. But this, yeah, you want to know this. You absolutely want to. We're going to go through it and I'm going to help guide you for, kind of like a guided study of the book. Now, let me be clear. When you finish that, you're not going to be ready for a job, but you are going to have a really good foundation to becoming a professional data scientist because this book is excellent for that. Now, another thing I want to make sure I get across here. I just mentioned how you should be building on other teams' work. And there is one thing that I will never, ever, ever be accused of, and that's plagiarizing work. I hate it when people steal my work, so I don't do it to others. So I'm not going to sit here and just tell you, oh, let's look at the code here. Let's do this. Or what about this? I'm going to build on it. I'm going to add my own twist to it. So I've got a couple of surprises for you guys. So come on in and join us. I'll talk about my approach after the first session because I'm kind of keeping it a little secret. I got to be honest with you. But I think I'm super excited about it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So please join me Sunday, 1500 GMT. If you can't make it, the replay is available on YouTube. I save all of my live streams on YouTube so you can look at it there. Or maybe you want to join us another Sunday. I'm going to be doing it the next 8 Sundays. There's 10 chapters in the book, but I'm only going to do 8 sessions because the first session is going to be chapters 1 through 3, right? Because chapters 1 and 2 are fairly short. But yeah, Sunday, 1500 GMT, same time as this chat. Here's another thing. I can only do it on YouTube because of the time limits. So I'm going to do a pregame on Instagram to remind all of you guys, but then I'm going to have you switch over to my YouTube. That way, we can go as long as it takes. My last class went for 2 hours. So come ready. Come excited. I'm just really excited about that. And then on top of that, I'm going to also be doing some more things in August. I got a very busy August planned for all of us. Really interesting streams coming up. So really looking forward to sharing that all up with you. But I'm seeing more and more people, which is wonderful. If you're joining us late, let me know your city, state, province, country that you're from. I always like hearing where people are from. But let's go ahead and get started because I think I have some people that have already introduced themselves. All right, so from YouTube, which I love seeing more YouTube, Explore the Beauty of Nature is coming to us from Edzuzi, Ghana. Oh, nice, welcome. I wish I was more educated on the geography of Ghana to know like if that's like the south, the north, the east, the west. But welcome, glad to see that you're here. Kevin Benny, my good friend, a great supporter of our streams. Good morning from Kerala, India. Well, good morning to you too, my friend. Hope you're doing well. Sandevenkat? I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. I am, Sandaria. Okay, so Sandaria from Vancouver, British Columbia. British Columbia. Well, welcome. That's a beautiful part of Canada, isn't it? I think Canada is a gorgeous country. I've done a ton of work there. So, Sandaria, you can correct me on this, but just for people who maybe are not aware of this, one of the funny things I learned, because I've done a lot of work in Canada. I actually had a Canadian work permit at a time. I was assigned to a long-term contract there. Canadians do not take summer vacations. That's when Canada's beautiful, right? I mean, it must be beautiful right now in British Columbia. So they stay in town for summer. They usually take winter vacations. They go away when, the snow is pretty bad and stuff, right? But right now, it's beautiful in Canada, so nobody really leaves Canada because, it's nice out and they have all the festivals and the outdoor events and the things you can't do in the winter. But that's a fun fact for you guys in case you don't know that Canada, they tend to stay in the summer and then they take they save their money and take their vacations in the winter. I was there in the winter when I was assigned there, and that was really hard because it was hard to schedule people because it's basically like, August for them where, so many people are away and like a lot of offices are like practically closed and stuff. But yeah, but welcome from Canada. Himstay says, is there anyone in the Tennessee area? I'm in Knoxville. Oh, okay, very cool. Well, you never know, right? You never know what community we can build here. Maybe there are people here in Tennessee, so well, maybe you can find a study partner or something. Hemsteak. I hope you're well, my friend. Kaibo, I'm going to come back to your question. Let us know where you're from first, my friend. Vortex GYV, excuse me, Bangalore, India. Love your videos. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's really been surprising at how many people have sent me positive feedback. I've only been at this for 10 weeks, right? So I still feel like I'm a new content creator. But yeah, but thank you so much for that, and I hope you're well in Bangalore. I think Bangalore is on the shore of India. In my mind, I see it on the southwestern shore of India, I believe. So I hope you're well. I imagine it's humid, so I hope you're staying well out there. Robin K. Phil, Kevin Benny, me too. So I'm assuming you're replying to being from Kerala, India. We'll see. We're making connections already, guys. So welcome to everybody from Kerala. Shishir RMC is from Nepal. Welcome. Good to see you. We have a couple of viewers from Nepal, so always good to see that. Shishir RMC says, it's evening here. Yes, Shishir, you bring up a good point. It's so hard to find a globally convenient time. This is the best time that I can find, but I do realize that I think it's also almost midnight in most parts of Asia at this hour, right? I think it's pretty late on your end. I think it's more than just evening. I think it's late into the night. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But that is the downside to this particular time slot, that it's the best globally convenient time I can find, but I know that for Asia it's maybe not so great. So thank you for joining. Thanks for staying up with us. Hopefully we can make it worth it. Kevin Benny says hi. Yeah, maybe you guys can find people to connect with, study partners or job leads, or you can exchange resumes, critique each other's resumes. Good stuff. Vortex, I'm going to come back to your question, my friend. Dr. Susan Francis, how are you? Hope you're well. I still feel bad about last time. So guys, last time I was a moron. I was pronouncing the name Druzins because for some reason my brain wasn't computing that it was Dr. Susan Francis. Apologies for that. One day I'm going to take a picture of my battle station because I actually redid it recently to prepare for these classes. So I have a lot going on my screens at any given time. So I felt it's not always easy for me to track all the names and the exact pronunciations. So I apologize for that, Dr. Susan. I was calling you Druzin last time, but it's Dr. Susan Francis, and I believe you're from India, but you're studying in Germany or something like that, right? I hope that's correct. Milicha, nice to see you. I know you support a lot of the content on Instagram, so really nice to see you here. Hi from Béjaïa, Algeria. Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. I think you might be our first viewer from Algeria. If I remember right, Algeria is to the east of Morocco, if I remember right. If I remember right, also that's a very contested border between Morocco and Algeria. But glad to see you here. Hope you're well. I assume it's pretty hot over there, but glad to see you here. Hemsteak, my friend, I'm going to come back to your question, okay? Sound is going to... Okay, cool. So it looks like all the check-ins are done. If you are joining us late, we always do our global roll call. Let me know the city, state, province that you're from. It helps to build a community. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to go back to the questions. I'm going to scroll back up. And I think my first one is Okaibo. Okaibo, let us know where you're from. Hi, Dennis. I am an MPH epidemiology, student looking to break into healthcare data. Okay. MPH, Masters in Public Health, I believe. Into healthcare data. Okay. What's holding you back? Is there anything in particular that's holding you back? Because that's a huge field, right? And bioinformatics as the overarching field is a very big field. So lots to study there, lots of possibilities there. So feel free to give us a little bit more information on that. If there's a particular item or whatever that's holding you back, let me know, okay? All right, let me go back. Vortex GYV asks, so what topics are we covering this Sunday? Great question. I love the question. So Sunday is going to be a combination kickoff. I'm also going to talk a bit about my teaching philosophy, and we're also going to go through chapters 1, 2, and 3. Now that sounds like a lot, but chapters 1 and 2 are fairly straightforward. At first, to be honest with you, they were so short that I thought I was actually going to skip them and just go to chapter 3. But there's a couple of really important things in chapters 1 and 2. Because again, I'm going to give you things that I think are applicable in the real world. The whole book is valuable, but I'm going to laser in on the stuff that I think is really valuable. And then we're also going to do some coding exercises. So 1 and 2 kind of establish the foundation, and chapter 3 is linear regression. So those are the 3 items that I hope to cover on Sunday. But really, mostly, I also want to get across the way I want to approach this. Because like I said, 1, I have my own teaching philosophy. I tend to use the Socratic method a lot, which is asking questions. So I'm going to be asking a lot of you to participate and give me feedback and give me your thoughts on the answers, because I think that's the best way to learn. You're not learning a whole lot if I'm just giving you the answers, right? I want you to kind of think on your own, because a good scientist thinks on their own. So that's one thing. I also want to stress that, the class is to give you a foundation to do more work. It's not a foundation to just go out and start applying for jobs, right? Because again, the whole goal of what I want to teach and why you would watch my content is not because you want to, crack the data scientist interview. It's because you want to do the work of a data scientist. You want to become part of the profession. That's kind of why I got into this, right? Because I don't like those shortcuts and those cheat sheets, because it kind of cheapens my profession. I mean, this is what I do. This is what I dedicated my life to, right? So that's gonna be part of the focus, and then we're gonna do linear regression, and linear regression is very valuable. Linear regression, I think, is an excellent first model to learn in a formal way. So we're gonna do that, and then, like I said, I wouldn't feel right if I just copied the author's work or anything like that. That's kind of lame, and kind of, intellectually dishonest. So I'm going to add my own twist. I'm going to give you my own twists and turns. You'll understand more once, you're in the class. But, I'm trying to build on their work, not just copy their work, because that's not healthy, right? So that's what we're going to do Sunday. And then every Sunday after that, we're going to do chapter by chapter, right? The first one's always different, right? Because you got to kick off the class, and I'm doing more chapters 1. But then if you want to know the subsequent Sundays, just look at the chapters. So we're going to do chapter 4 the next Sunday, chapter 5 the one after that, and so on and so on. Okay? Maybe we're going to do 2 hours. I don't know. But all I know is that I can't do it on Instagram because Instagram is too short. But yeah, I hope you guys come on by. All right. Himsteak, let's get to your question. A recruiter reached out about an AI ML engineer role that involved deciding the path forward for their ML capabilities. Cool. Do you think it's worth pursuing since I have 0 years of job experience? Yeah, sure. Why not? Is there a reason that's holding you back on that? So two things come to mind here, guys. One is, and I'm telling you this from experience because I've been on the hiring side plenty of times. Data science teams don't always know what they're looking for. So don't get caught up in their exact job descriptions and titles and things like that. Because the field is so dynamic and most teams are so small anyways, that it's rarely going to be like, well, I'm the hiring manager and I know that I need exactly one data science engineer or a data engineer with 1 to 2 years of experience working only in Oracle and SQL or whatever, right? That's very rare where they would know those specifics. All they know is that they need to grow their data science team most of the time, right? I mean, if you talk to these managers, really what it gets down to is I need more people, period. So don't get caught up in the ML engineer or has to be this, has to be that. Apply. Go ahead. And obviously you want to be honest in your resume, right, in your skills. But you never know what they're going to need, right? So don't get too caught up in that. The second thing is you're obviously asking about, hey, I don't have a lot of experience and things like that, right? But what I'm zoning in on in your question is that it involves deciding the path forward for their ML capabilities. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that they're going to value creativity over like your actual coding skills, right? Because to me, that's a team that is still looking for guidance. They're still looking for ideas on what to do, right? So if I'm preparing for this interview, I'm going to be walking in. Well, one, you're going to research the company, and two, you're going to walk in with 3 potential project ideas that could solve a pain point for them or for their industry, right? Because they're going to value that over anything else if they're looking for a path forward, right? So to me, that's something that can overcome an experience gap if you're able to say, well, look, I'm presenting to you my honest resume. Maybe you're not going to find a lot of projects on there, but here's 1, 2, 3 project ideas that I think are going to help you, and here's the background technologies for each of them, right? And then from there, if you do end up landing the job, then it's a question of implementation and coding and Stack Overflow searches and all that stuff, right? And that's okay. But if they're really looking for guidance, right, if what you've written here is correct, then focus on walking in there with ideas. I've studied your industry, I've studied your company. Here's what I think is some of your pain points. Here's how you can use machine learning to address them. I think that makes for a very strong interview, right? So good luck with that, my friend. I hope your job search is going well. But that's what I would advise you to, okay? So don't let that hold you back. All right. So true. Everyone is having a great time now. I'm looking forward to the weekend, but block my calendar for the Sunday book session. Oh, thank you so much. I think you're referring to the Canadian vacations, right? Because yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of things to do in Canada on the weekends during this time of year. It's got to be beautiful up there, especially in British Columbia. But yeah, if you want to spend your Sunday with us, I think I'm in the same time zone as British Columbia, if I remember right. So yeah, come spend your Sunday morning with me. I'm going to go as long as we need to. I think it's going to be about 2 hours, maybe longer. But yeah, hope you guys are able to come on Sunday. And again, if you aren't, it'll be on YouTube for a replay. And just come a following Sunday. It's gonna take a while. It's a big book, so I really think it's going to be 8 sessions. It's going to be exhausting for me to put all that stuff together, but we'll see. We'll have some fun with it. All right. Me Alama, hey, I think I've seen you before, so thanks so much for coming back. Hi, looking for your stat learning live stream. Sunday, 1500 GMT. All right. That's when I'm kicking off the session. So Thursdays will still be my regular live stream, just like we're doing now. And then Sunday will be the live streams, going forward. Okay. So hope to see you there, Alama. And again, if you're joining us late, feel free to tell me your city, state, province, country, all that good stuff. That way people can participate and get to know each other. Prince Kara, hello, my friend. Good to see you again. I know you always join in on YouTube, and I love seeing the YouTube participation. So hope you're well, Prince. Let us know how you're doing. Me Alama, hope you teach deep learning also. Maybe. I don't know if this book is really known for deep learning. I don't think that's really the objective that these guys have. I think that in the later chapters, there's some mention of deep learning. Maybe. I can't remember. I haven't seen chapter 9 and 10 in a while. But you know what? This isn't the book I would recommend to you for deep learning, to be frankly honest with you. I think that there are better books out there. Don't misunderstand me. This is a great book. But for deep learning in particular, there was one book that really moved me forward, that really helped me. I might as well tell you guys now. I'm going to do a video on this later. And I might do a series on this book. But if you go on Amazon, there is a book called Build Your First Neural Network. And it's the author is Tariq Rashid, I believe is how you pronounce it. I believe he's a professor at I think I want to say an Iranian university, but he's a professor in the Middle East, and it's called Build Your First Neural Network. That book helped me understand neural networks better than anything else out there. So if you really are interested in deep learning, let me know, and I might do a series on that book. But since you guys are attending, I'll give this to you, as an exclusive here. You take that book, Build Your First Neural Network. You go through the entire book. You do the code exercises in there, right? Build your own code base based on what he teaches you in there. And then you start all over and you do all the exercising using a modern neural network framework like Keras. I personally like Keras. I'm a Keras guy. So take that book, do everything he talks about in that book, and then start over, do everything in Keras, and you will be ready for the majority of neural network interviews out there. That to me is the better deep learning approach than the ISL book. But yeah, so I mean, if you guys want to run with that and you get to that second stage of working with Keras, let me know and I'll help you. But I think that's a very valuable exercise. Go through the entire book and do the code, do the raw code, right? Because he doesn't use a framework in his book, which is fantastic. And then repeat the book, doing it in Keras. Or you can use PyTorch, if you're lonely and come from a broken home, you can use PyTorch, and then go from there. But that's what I would do for deep learning. Patagonia Munch says, do you clean it or just let it cheese? That's deep. That's a deep question. If anybody knows what that guy's talking about, let me know. Himsteak says, fear of failure. Okay, you're talking about fear of failure during the interview? That's okay. Not every interview is going to go well, guys. You're going to blow interviews along the way. That's the hard part of tech interviews, right? So don't worry about it. You're going to blow interviews from now and every once in a while. They never really go as poorly as you think they do, but not everyone's going to go perfect, right? So don't worry about it. It happens. But again, I think that overcoming that fear is worth it because the teams don't always know exactly what they're looking for, right? So stay positive. Stay positive. I think you're going to be just fine, Himsteak. Okay, let me skip a few here. It might be time for me to start doing moderators. I run my streams without any sort of moderation because I think most people know how to behave themselves. But it might be time to start doing that. Let me know if somebody wants to volunteer to do that. And if you're joining late, feel free to let me know your city, state, province. Always like hearing where people are from. But yeah, let me know where you guys are from. Is it M. Amir? M. Amir Hamza Iqbal. Let us know where you're from, my friend. I am from a non-tech background. Is Masters in Business Analytics a good field? Have skills in statistics? Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Business analytics, I think, is a great way to get yourself onto a team if you don't have that strong of a tech background. People are always looking for, people that can work with data on a visualization level, on a data pipeline level. So yeah, I think that's a great entry point for you to say, well, maybe I don't have a strong tech undergrad or work experience, but I want to take a different study path and go from there. I think that's great. Especially if you have the skills in statistics, right? That's also a good foundation for that. You could also consider a master's in applied statistics, because I think that applied statistics gets you even closer to modeling, when it kind of replicating what you would do in a data science career, right? Like most applied statistics is going to have a course on regression, right? Regression is a great way to get into modeling. Most applied statistics are going to have a course on probabilities. Probabilities is fantastic. It's one of the few types of math that I really advocate for, because probabilities is important in data science. Applied statistics is going to talk to you about hypothesis testing, which is also very important, right? So you could consider that, but I think that business analytics is just fine also. All right. Explore the Beauty of Nature says, currently I am enrolled in the Stanford course, which is based entirely on the ISL book. I am excited to gain more insight. Great, fantastic. I think some of the authors are from Stanford for the book. I don't think they're the ones teaching the course. If they are, let me know. That would be cool. But yeah, so the ISL book, if you do nothing but read this book, it's a great book. But what I'm going to do, like, I'm going to do two different things, right? Because again, I want to add to their work, not copy their work. Like I said, in each chapter, we're going to go through the relevant items that I think are real world relevant, right? Like, I'm going to tell you, yes, I've used this, maybe not that. And, we're going to talk about some of those items, right? And then the second thing is I'm going to add a twist on the programming exercises and all the code that they're teaching you in here. So yeah, I mean, definitely continue with that book or with that course rather. And then if you attend Sundays, hopefully I'll add to that and, kind of show you different ways to think about this. Because if there's any fault with this book is that it's written by people who don't have, that much real world experience. It's written by academics, right? And that's okay. That's not a knock on them. But they don't always have that real world approach to it. So I'm hoping to be able to give that to you guys. So that's what I would say. But continue with the course and then come supplement on Sundays with me. But yeah, I think I addressed everything in your question. But again, really glad to see more participation from YouTube. I love that. Sando, welcome, says hello. I'm Steph from Ghana and working to become. Sando, I think your message got cut off, my friend. Let me know where else you're from, or what you wanted to do, or maybe you're working to become a data scientist. But let me know, Sando. But glad you're here from Ghana. We get a lot of people from Ghana here. That's cool. Kevin, our good friend from India, says, how important is a good understanding of probability in data science? How does it fit into data science? Great question, Kevin. So yeah, you're asking two very good correlated questions. Let me answer the second one. How does it fit into data science? Really important, guys. Write this down. This is one of my basic things I teach to all of the people that work for me. Okay? You have to remember, data science does not give you the right answer. Algorithms do not give you the right answer. It gives you the most probabilistic answer. Super important, guys. Never ever forget that in your entire career. It doesn't give you the answer. It gives you the most probable answer. Okay? So understanding statistics is super important. And you know what? And this is true at all levels. No matter who created the algorithm, no matter how good the algorithm is, it's just probabilities. Like, have you guys ever worked with the OpenAI API for ChatGPT? Like, let me know in the chat if you work with that. But if you haven't, I encourage you to do that and do some prompts via code. Do you guys realize that OpenAI returns like 5 different options for the answer that it thinks it is? I think it's either 3 or 5. I want to say it's 5. But even a big company like OpenAI, as advanced as ChatGPT is and all that, even at their levels, they tell you, hey, these are the most 5 answers that we think are the most likely answers. Now, they don't tell you that when you're using the chat interface, right? Because the chat interface, just kind of gives you the top one, right? But even a big company like OpenAI, with all the people and all the smart people they say they have and all the publishing they do, so on and so forth, even they tell you that, hey, these are the most probable answers, right? So, Kevin, that's where I think is the most important part, that you have to keep that top of mind to know that, hey, I'm still just dealing with a math formula that's giving me its best guess, right? I mean, that's what a probable answer is, right? It's giving me its most educated best guess. So that's the first thing I would tell you. And the second thing I would tell you is you also have to understand the relationships of probabilities of how probable some of these things are, right? Like, you might be working on an algorithm, right? Any algorithm where the confusion matrix or the accuracy or whatever metric you're using is at 90%, right? And that sounds pretty good, right? 90%. You usually got to work to get 90% out of most algorithms, right? That doesn't happen in your first run, right? Okay, that's great, but that still means that 10% of the time it's going to fail. And what does that failure look like? And some people might say, oh, well, 10% is not nothing. Well, 10% happens pretty often, right? So I like my people to have a real world sense of 10%. So I think this is why when you hear about trading firms or finance firms, a lot of their people are into poker, and they'll host poker nights and things like that. Because, poker is one of the few ways that you can understand how often some of these probabilities happen, right? When you're playing poker or other card games where, it's competitive and you can say, oh, well, I'm an 80% favorite to win. Or, something like blackjack or what, you can see like, well, wait a minute, I was 90% there and I still lost. What happened there? I didn't think 10% didn't happen that often, but it does happen, right? So I like my employees, my data scientists, to have a pretty healthy sense of, well, wait a minute, 10% is still a lot. I still need to work a little bit more, right? So Kevin, I hope that answers your question, but that's what I would tell you. So then Kevin goes on to say, same goes for topics such as calculus and vectors. Oh, Kevin, you had me at probabilities and you lost me at calculus. No, not needed. Not needed nearly as much as everything else I just mentioned. Remember, for the calculus and the vectors and the linear algebra and the so on, you're going to be using libraries and frameworks for that. So I like people to have a healthy understanding of them, but by that I mean like a half-day seminar just to kind of understand, what's going on underneath the hood. But deep knowledge into calculus and vectors, not needed. Okay, so Deep Learning by Ian Goodfellow, this is Himstake, by the way, is a really great textbook for cutting-edge research published in 2015. Maybe a little math-heavy to be practical, but it explains deep learning clearly. Okay, cool. That's good. And thanks for the recommendation. I'm not sure if I'm on board with cutting-edge research published in 2015. Guys, a lot has happened in deep learning since 2015. Even since 2020, a lot has happened, right? Specifically, I'm thinking about something like GANs. I know that GANs have been around for a while, but it's really only been in the last 5-6 years that they've really come to the forefront. In 2015, there wasn't a lot of conversation about GANs. So I'm not sure if I'd agree with cutting edge research, but maybe Himstick, maybe you can correct me. Maybe he does discuss GANs in there. But GANs are a super, super important part of what's happening right now with generative AI. So let me know if that's in there, because if it is in there, then it is truly cutting edge. But most books from 2015 would probably not, I'm guessing, have a deep mention of GANs in there. All right. So again, guys, if you're joining us late, feel free to let me know where you're from. Love hearing where everybody's checking in from. You don't have to be a technical guy to participate in our chat, so please let me know. Can non-tech background people survive in business analytics field? Sure, of course. Now, you were the one that asked the question before about the business analytics, right? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be on you to do the work, right? Nobody's gonna do the work for you, and you're probably gonna have to exercise a little bit more creativity in terms of how you solve problems and the solutions you propose. So you're gonna have to work hard at it. But yeah, absolutely, non-tech background. I don't have my undergraduate degree is not technical at all. I have a business degree, an international business degree for my undergrad. Now, I already knew how to program and I kept up with my skills along the way. So I did that work on my own. But it's absolutely possible to come from a non-tech background. Is it Melider, or I think it's Melider? Do you think that learning Java is good for data science? Nope. In fact, this is one of my most popular questions on all of my social media, where this is a question I ask on my interviews. I ask, why is Java really not used for data science? We use R, we use Python, we use a lot of different languages, but not Java. So there's reasons for that. So Melly, if you want to think about that and come back to me with an answer, you'll find answers on why Java is not great for data science. Very little data science is being done in Java. So no, I don't think that learning Java is good for data science. Cosmic Baki, where are you from, Cosmic? Let me know. I don't think you introduced yourself. What would be the first step or first thing in order to learn data science? I I have a roadmap on my YouTube. Please go to my YouTube. It's called the Data Science Roadmap for Students. It's basically saying what I would do now to study data science, and it's using some of the things that I did way back when. But use that roadmap. And the first thing I recommend in that roadmap is I recommend reading Mastery by Robert Greene. And I want you to think about and kind of do some personal reflection if data science is for you. I want to make sure that you're getting into data science for the right reasons, because it's a very serious profession. It's a serious profession that requires a lot of work. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick. You're not going to be a data scientist in 6 months or anything else that those crazy workshops or other influencers promise you. That's not possible. It's not. So that's the first thing I would recommend to you. Check out that video. I also have a coding challenge in that video to kind of, help you understand if data science is for you. But that's what I would recommend. Okay. I want to see you follow your passion, and that's not always easy. So yeah, that's what I would recommend there. Okay, so let me keep going here. Jatin Jaitley says, hey, I'm from Ireland. Well, hey, good to see you. Hope you're well. I think it's a reasonable hour in Ireland right now, so thank you for spending your Thursday with us. Really, really glad to see you here. Explore Beauty and Nature regarding the ISL book, 2 of the instructors of the writer's book. Oh, awesome. Wow. So they're still teaching. Good for them. That is excellent. Hey, maybe later you can send me a link to that course. I'm curious now. Because I know that they also have, I think they have a YouTube channel, don't they? Where they also teach parts of the book. But yeah, if they're also the instructors, that's awesome. Thanks so much for that info. I did not know that. Yeah, so wow, now I feel a lot of pressure because I'm going to be nowhere near as good as they are, because obviously I have a lot of respect for these guys. But I'm going to do my best to give you guys like the real world view into their book, because again, I'm just going to share my experience, what I think is relevant, what I've actually used in business solutions. I've worked for a lot of companies around the world. But yeah, I'm just going to give it my best shot. But now I feel a lot of pressure. Geez, maybe you shouldn't have told me that. All right. Jatin says, I have a question. Can you share some of the reso to prepare for senior level data science position? I am a AI data science architect and wish to break into more senior roles. Some of the reso. What is a reso? Is that like a resume, or let me know what you mean there. But glad to see more experienced people in the chat. Really glad to see that. So thank you so much for being here. Just give me a little bit more detail, please. Okay. Kevin says, I mentioned calculus and vectors because nearly every course that is sold online, there is a separate section for these. Yeah, I get that, Kevin. I understand that that's one of those things out there. And sometimes I see it in like the little different items that come across my feed. Again, I've said this before and I'll stand by this. Some of the people out there are way overselling the math that you need. When somebody tells me this, like they prepared a course like this, or I see influencers that have like a lot of math heavy stuff in their videos, one, they're desperate for content, and 2, they haven't worked in the real world, right? And that happens, right? There's a lot of people out there who are basically faking AI and data science for, because they want to sell you a course. They really don't know what they're doing because they've never been out in the real world, right? So that's what you're telling me when somebody says I have a course and this is what I focus on, or this is what my content focuses on, because I think that's way oversold. The reality is that you're going to use libraries out there, and you kind of want to use libraries because do you know how easy it is to make a mistake translating math into code? Like that's like a super easy mistake, right? Like it's one thing to have the code on your desktop in LaTeX or whatever, or you see it in a white paper or whatever the case may be. But to take that and then to move that into code, that's like a whole other ballgame, right? And then on top of that, you shouldn't be taking formulas natively, right? Because what if you're misunderstanding the formula, right? What if you wrote it wrong? Or what if the formula or like the general approach doesn't work, right? Just because it's in a white paper doesn't mean it's good. It just means it's been published, right? So libraries are very beneficial for that because one, the code tends to be more reliable, and two, the approach basically has been validated by the global community to some degree if it's going to be in a library, right? So the real world answer is that you're rarely going to need that deep of a level of calculus or anything else really, the linear algebra approaches, all that, right? I mean, the only rare times when I've seen it is in neural networks. Every once in a while, maybe like once a year, you come across somebody who's used a custom activation function for their nodes, right? Okay, yeah, maybe that's an application of it, but usually that's somebody who's kind of being a little snotty, and they can use another activation function just fine. They're just choosing to use their own, right? So that's really the only cases where I've seen native math be helpful. But otherwise, you're going to be using a library, and it's going to be just calling it in code, right? So I appreciate the follow-up, Kevin. But yeah, so, just kind of want to emphasize that because I don't want people to be intimidated by the math. And quite frankly, I think a lot of people use it as a gatekeeping, like a little bit of a low-key gatekeeping kind of approach. Because it makes them sound better, right? Like, oh yeah, you need a lot of math and data science. I'm a math expert. You want to pay for my course? Forget that, okay? All right, Kevin goes on to add, regarding the role of probability, you mean to say that it's required to just have a sense of what probability is, or do we need to master all the theorems and core stuff? I think it's healthy to have an understanding of the theorems, right? To kind of understand how they come together. But again, that doesn't mean you're going to be calculating them on your own. Again, I'm talking about like a half day's worth of a seminar, half day's worth of study, like literally just like 4 or 6 hours, right? Just put some study into it, understand how probabilities come about. But yes, the first part is more important about, having a sense of what it is or what it means. What does it mean to be at 90%? What does it mean to be at 95%? Right? That's kind of the more valuable part. And the reason I say this, because otherwise you're going to fall in love with your own results, right? Hey, look at me. I did an algorithm with 90%. Okay, great. But you're still going to fail 10% of the time, right? So that's more of the sense that I'd like people to have because again, now you're focusing more on the real world application of it, right? Like, okay, great. You worked hard to get to that 90%, but are you prepared to have your stakeholders come back to you and say, hey, your algorithm stinks. It failed on these, and these cases. Because that's going to happen at 10%, right? They're going to come back to you. And you can't say, oh, those are edge cases. Well, 10% is not an edge case, right? So that's kind of the more applied side of data science and probabilities that I want you guys to have, okay? But I'm loving the discussion, Kevin. Thanks so much for bringing that up. Because again, I think probabilities are really important. So yeah. Sheku Shek, where are you from? Let us know where you're from, Sheku. Learning statistics is the first step, in my opinion. Maybe. There's a lot to statistics, right? So let us know what kind you were talking about there. But yeah, statistics is definitely important. Melly says, is knowing DSA important for data science or machine learning? You also asked about the calculus question before, didn't you? No, you asked about the Java question before, excuse me. Yeah, so is there somebody out there like selling a DSA course, or has DSA become popular among the influencers? Because I seem to be getting a lot of DSA questions over the last 2-3 weeks. A lot of people have been asking that. So you guys tell me, is that like a trending topic among the data science sphere? Because again, I really don't follow a lot of people, but if somebody is trying to sell you a course on that, that's probably their motivation for bringing up DSAs. But it's probably not as important as you think. Personally, in my interviews, I'm always asking about the theory and the understanding of why you would use a particular algorithm, or how you would bring up an entire project, not just an algorithm, together, right? So am I going to ask you DSA questions in an interview? Never. To me, that's a waste of time. But yeah, so I hope that helps. But you guys can tell me in the chat if that's like a trending thing or whatnot, because a lot of people have been asking about DSA. So I'm guessing that somebody out there is trying to sell a course, and they have all their little affiliates out there saying, "Oh no, you need DSAs. You need to buy that from me." Joseph Hernandez says, "Hello, Dennis." Hey, Joseph, how are you? Good to see the YouTube participation. I cannot tell you guys how much I love this chat over here on the side. It took me a couple hours. I had to sit here with my OBS for an entire afternoon to get all this chat and the little overlays working. I just love this chat and being able to see. So Joseph, good to see that you're from YouTube. Let us know where you're from, Joseph. I don't think I got your introduction. Okay, guys, I'm going to go for another 5 minutes here before Instagram cuts me off. Sando says, how long does it take on average for a data analyst to become a data scientist, or is there a specific approach to this? It depends. That's a great question, Sando. It depends. Are you a data analyst as part of a team already, or you're looking to break in as a data analyst? Because if you're a data analyst as part of a team, I think that's a really excellent starting point. That's a really good foothold to say, I'm a data analyst now, but I'm going to start showing more of my skills and work into a data scientist role at my company. That's very possible. I've seen people, I've helped people go along that road. I've had some very smart analysts work for me that I then help them move on into a data science career. So that's definitely possible. But if you're talking about generally like from the outside, yeah, from the outside, you could also do it. I think you have to be a little bit more flexible in the jobs you'd be accepting. Maybe you'd start as a visualization specialist or a Power BI specialist or something like that, right? But if you have a data analyst background, I think it's very possible to do a data science career. Absolutely. Is there a specific approach? Start showing off more of your modeling skills, right? What's the difference between an analyst and a data scientist? It's usually modeling skills. So pick up opportunities that you can to extend your code into the modeling side, right? Because you're probably using some code already as a data analyst, but not modeling code. So that's what I would suggest to you. Firebrand J, good to see you, my friend. I know you've been here before, so thank you so much for coming back. Calculus is there when you learn gradient descent, chain rule for deep learning. Basic is enough, or when you learn algorithms, learn specific things. Not all. Vectors are useful when you do NLP. I don't know. I think vectors are useful anytime, my friend. Learn more about vector database and vector query instead of vectors alone. Again, basic will work. Yeah, I agree with your assessment that basic will work overall. I'm not sure if I agree that vectors are useful when you do NLP. We use vectors for a lot of things, right? And to our friend Melly Durr, hint, if you want to figure out why Java is not great for data science, I would start with vectors. I'm just saying. You might want to look into that. But yeah. Explore the Beauty of Nature says, here is a link to the course. For some reason, that is not coming across in my my chat aggregator. But I'll look at the chat later on, or you know what, my email address is on my YouTube. If you want to send it to me there, that'd be even better. But thank you so much. I really appreciate that reference. Ayus HS says, thank you for doing this. Oh, well, thank you. Thanks for being here, Ayus. I don't think you introduced yourself. Would love to hear where you're from. Yeah. Guys, I asked this in a previous chat, and I'm really curious. Are there other data science influencers that do live streams? I have no idea. Maybe you guys can help me with that. But I haven't heard of any. But you guys would know better than I do. But let me know if there are other, data science influencers or people out there that do live streams. I'm curious. I really don't follow anyone. I mean, you guys can see on my Instagram, I follow like 15 people. Half of them are my family. But yeah, let me know if there's anybody else there. But I'm happy to do it. I enjoy it. This is fun for me. Data science overall is fun for me. And this is why I recommend Robert Greene, the Robert Mastery book, because if you follow your mastery, you're going to have fun with it. And everything else you want, the money, the positions, the progression is going to come. And I've been doing that for like the last 15 years, following my passion. So that's why I really advocate it, because I think that's what makes me good at these live streams, because I'm really passionate about this. I mean, this is my life. This is what I've dedicated my life to. So yeah, but thank you so much for that. Happy to keep doing these for you guys. And Sunday, 1500 GMT, we're going to do this book. So I'm going to continue my passion to sharing my passion with you guys with this book. Looking forward to that also. So I didn't want to miss the opportunity to plug that for you guys. All right, I got a couple more minutes here, guys. Tamarat Salaman from Ethiopia. Welcome so much, Tamarat. Thank you so much for introducing yourself. It's never too late to introduce yourself, guys. I love making these gatherings inclusive, so nobody has to feel like you have to be some amazing data scientist to join. Anybody can join in. So thank you so much, Tamarat. Hope you're well in Ethiopia. Ashi says, hi, Dennis. Good to see you. Good to see you, too. Glad you're here. Glad to see the YouTube participation. Thanks so much, Ashish. Let us know where you're from. Melidur says, yes, 80% of the data science roadmaps that I find on Instagram and GitHub have DSA in it. Yeah. Again, it's not the worst thing to study, but am I going to ask you questions on that? Not really. If I hire you, I'm totally okay with you looking that up on Stack Overflow or ChatGPT or whatever. So yeah, if you want to study it, sure, just kind of keep your skills sharp. But as a critical must-have item, I don't know if I'd agree with that. Ratnajet Sinha says, hi, Dennis. Hope you're all right. Oh, thank you so much. I'm doing well. Thank you. It's still super hot where I live. I live in the desert, so it's super hot. So I stay indoors most days, me and my dog. But yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. I'm just really excited about, I'm excited about all the growth my account has had. We crossed the 10,000 followers this week, so I'm really excited. And yeah, I got some really good content coming up for you guys in August. So, stay tuned. I've got some really good stuff coming up. I haven't talked about some of this stuff, but I'm telling you, August, it's going to be an amazing month. Lots of good stuff. All right, guys, I better stop here. Instagram's about to cut me off. Again, it's a 1 hour limit. I'm sorry I didn't get to your questions, but keep on coming back. Sunday, 1500 GMT. We're going to start the book. It's going to be really exciting. So thank you so much for spending your Thursday with me. Stay safe out there. Stay cool. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your families. I'll see you next time.